So I wanted to make a quick video today to show you guys how to tighten this gap from the Ikea closets. Now Ikea does include the tightening hardware. Now there's only 2 in here that comes with every pack set. And what you need to do is you actually need to drill through here and then use the tightening bolt so these 2 pieces come apart and they'll actually connect, and once you tighten them, this will squeeze the closet together to get rid of that gap. So that's what we're going to do today. What you'll need is drill bit. Now this drill bit is just about 3/16. If you don't have a set, that should work. If you do have a set, the easiest way to tell, just bring it up to your hole and make sure it fits in there. You want it nice and snug, and that's about right. So we'll use that today. You'll also need a little bit of tape. So what you want to do with the tape is you want to cover up both ends and both sides, and that's only preventative, just so that if your drill bit does scratch up the packs, there's not too much tear out, and the tape will just help with that. And then you'll also need a drill bit, and that's it. And now Ikea, like I said before, only gives you 2 of these. So if you do want to buy more, Home Depot does sell something very similar. Now they did not have the 1.5 inch, so what we ended up doing was buying the 3/4 with a 1/2 inch extension, and this together equals 1 of these. So not ideal, but if they did have 1.5 inch, we would buy those. Unfortunately they didn't, so we ended up just getting creative, buying the extension, the cap, and the 3/4 extension. So that when that's put together, it's very similar to the Ikea set. I find that the Home Depot is a bit thicker. When trying to put it in the hole, it's a lot tighter. So your drill bit will help, but just beware if you are getting it from Home Depot. The ends are a little bit different. Ikea has the ends as a Phillips end. Home Depot has one end flat and the other end as a flat head. So ideally you want to pick 3 spots in your cabinet or in your Pax wardrobe to close off the gap. 1 I don't think is enough. Now we are putting trim here, so it doesn't really matter for my purpose, but we'll still end up putting 2 or 3 and 1 in the back just to hold the units together. But if I was not putting any trim here, I would put it in 3 different spots. And what you want to do is pick an inconspicuous area. So we're actually going to take this drawer out, put it here just so you don't see it, and then we'll end up painting it white, so it kind of looks like the caps. So now that our drawer is out, again, you want to find your hole, put your tape over the hole just so it helps. You can still see the hole, so no concern there, but the tape just helps. If the drill bit does take off a bit of material, it'll kind of help hold it in place. And you want to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you're taping the opposite side. So you want to tape up this hole, and then we'll end up taking it off after. Okay, so again, what we want to do is drill through these 2 holes with this drill bit. It is 3/16, so we'll end up drilling through that. Now what you want to do, if you do have clamps, you definitely want to use clamps to hold these together, just to make sure that nothing moves, or you can really try your best to level this out just to make sure everything is aligned and smooth. But if you do have clamps, I recommend it. So now if you are going to use clamps, just make sure these are rubber. You don't want to use metal clamps and tighten them too hard. What you'll end up finding is that it will damage your pack set. So if you do use clamps, just use a small clamp with the rubber on it, and that will definitely help you out. Okay, so I clamped one here and clamped one about 3 feet apart just to make sure this was all in line before I start drilling. Straightened it all out at the edge just to make sure all the way up, and the gap is closed. It's taped off on both ends, so now we'll start drilling. Okay, so now that your tape's in place, your clamps are in place, your faces are aligned, all that's left to do is to drill. Now you want to start drilling here, the most visible face, and end up where you don't see the end. Sometimes when your drill bit comes through, it might tear out some of that, so you definitely want to be coming through at the non-visible side. Okay, so when you're ready, just take your time, go nice and slow, and drill right through. There we go. So when your drill bit does come through, you'll see that here. And there we go. So drill bit has come through the tape, and that is all you need. At this point, you can back out your drill. We'll take off the tape and see how it looks. Okay, now that you're done drilling, you can remove your tape. And you can see here's why we put our tape in. Now this will get covered up. But you come to the other side, and don't worry about that. That's going to get covered by the screw. And same thing on the other side. This is why we always want to drill coming out of the inconspicuous side, so that if it does have a tear out, it's less noticeable than if you were coming through here and this side is visible. Now if you want, you can pick 2 more locations, so we'll end up drilling up there and somewhere down at the bottom so that you do not see the screws. And that way this gap will close, and we'll show you before and after. So here's the before, and you can see that gap goes all the way up to the top. It disappears at the top, but it is noticeable at the bottom. And we'll put in the screw here, one on each end, and then we'll see this gap close. So at this point you can decide which side goes on which. It doesn't really matter. They're relatively the same size head. We're going to actually end up painting these white, so it doesn't really matter which one goes first or on which side, but I'll show you that next. So if you do paint the finish, you can see the difference. We ended up painting the tops of these screws so that they will disappear amongst the backing. You can see that right there. It's a pretty big difference, and once it's here, it'll end up disappearing. So once you drilled through, you want to take one end, find the hole you drilled through, and if it is tight, you can use a hammer and just lightly tap it into place. There you go. And on the opposite end, you want to find that hole, and then you'll end up screw it into place. And you'll see as you tighten this, you'll start to see that gap close off. So you'll want 2 screwdrivers, one on this end to hold it, and one on the other end just to tighten it. So just keep tightening. The gap will disappear. Now if you do install the screw without painting it, Ikea does sell a paint. I've never used this before, but we'll end up trying this just to cover up the screw. So here it is. And then we'll just finger paint that screw so that it disappears. So that's one down and two to go. We'll end up doing the same thing right around the bottom and right above that shelf, just so we don't see the screw when we do come into the room. Now if you do choose to put the screw just above the top cabinet, focus, you will have to remove this cabinet just because your drill won't go in straight. So I removed both, drilled through, and then tightened that up with the clamps in place, and you can see the gap has really closed off. So we just installed the Home Depot plugs that are flat, shiny on one end. At the bottom, we thought this one would be the worst one. It turns out that it looks way more inconspicuous than the Ikea ones that have the hole, that have the threading there. And this one seems to reflect the white around it, and I think we kind of like that one better than what comes with Ikea, so we'll end up swapping this one with that one, and that one will be hidden by a drawer. But it looks like Home Depot seems to be the winner with their plugs versus Ikea. This was a little bit tighter. This was a little bit tighter to get in, but once it's in, it really does reflect the white around it, and we find that it looks slightly cleaner than even the painted Ikea. So there we go. We actually ended up putting in another Home Depot plug here to match the one at the bottom, and we'll end up using the Ikea ones at the top where you don't see them, and that way they're hidden. So now with all three plugs in, here's the after. So we do have one right there, one right there, and the other one just above the shelf. Now if I was not putting trim here, I would probably move this one closer to the middle just to get a little bit more tighter, but for us that's perfect, and that's how you install the Ikea connector hardware. Okay guys, let me know if this was helpful. It'd be really great to know, and we'll see you on the next one.